Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the wild financial mechanics of a guy who literally rewrote the rulebook on digital wealth. Yep, we're talking about Jimmy Donaldson, better known to the world as MrBeast. Get this, based on the latest estimates for 2026, this 26-year-old is sitting on a staggering net worth of $2.6 billion. Billion with a B. That is a mind-bending amount of wealth for someone his age, and the mechanics of how he actually pulled it off, honestly, it's a total masterclass in modern business.
Okay, let's dive into this, because right off the bat, we run into a massive head-scratching paradox. Think about it. We're going to deconstruct how a kid making goofy gaming videos in his bedroom built a multi-billion-dollar empire. And yet, despite that jaw-dropping valuation, he paradoxically claims to have negative money. So how on earth is the youngest self-made billionaire on the planet currently broke? Well, to figure out that contradiction, we've got to rewind to where he started.
Jimmy didn't start at the top. Actually, back in 2008, his parents went bankrupt and lost everything. Fast forward a bit to 2012, he's 13 years old, and he launches his first channel under the completely random name MrBeast 6000. For years, he was just grinding out these pretty basic Pokemon and Minecraft videos, barely scraping together a few thousand views. Net worth, basically zero. But then, 2017 happens. He posts a video where he literally just counts to 100,000. It sounds totally ridiculous, right? But man, it was his breakthrough. That single, grueling video blew up to 33 million views and pocketed him a cool $100,000. He had finally found the recipe.
So, the crucial point is, how exactly does someone translate those views into actual spendable cash? Well, Jimmy publicly admitted to hitting just over 464 million total views during this specific era. If we break down the standard YouTube ad revenue model, it all runs on something called RPM, revenue per mille, or what advertisers pay per 1,000 views. For his specific type of content back then, it hovered around a $5 RPM. So take that 464 million, divide it by 1,000, and multiply by 5. Simple math. But when you apply it at this crazy scale, it turns massive viewership into serious, life-changing baseline wealth. Just by following that straightforward view to RPM formula, by the end of 2017, MrBeast's net worth rocketed from basically nothing to over $2.3 million. He cracked the code. But here's the thing. What he decided to do next with that initial multi-million-dollar capital is what truly separated him from literally every other creator out there. It gave him the runway to launch what became his legendary philanthropy loop. So, with some real money finally in the bank, what's his very first major move? He gives back to the person who supported him the most, his mom. Now, true to form, he staged this dramatic, high-speed police chase in a brand new BMW i8 as a prank, but the real heart of it was handing her a check for $100,000 to completely pay off her mortgage. It's a genuinely awesome moment, but looking at it from a pure business angle, that $100,000 was just the absolute tip of the iceberg of what he was about to start giving away. Think about it. Most creators snag a brand deal, take the sponsorship money, and just pocket it, right? Not Jimmy. When he landed a major deal from a company called Quid, he systematically gave every single dollar of it away. He walked up and handed $10,000 to homeless individuals, tossed another $10,000 to random pizza delivery drivers, and dropped $30,000 in donations on Twitch streamers. He birthed this totally revolutionary concept. Giving away cash wasn't just charity anymore. It was wildly engaging content, and more importantly, it was an aggressive reinvestment mechanism for his brand. And that brings us to the famous reinvestment loop. It's kind of ironic when you think about it. Spending loads of cash to make a video, like giving away Lambos or buying out every billboard in a city, actually skyrocketed his viewership. By late 2018, this insane strategy had quadrupled his reach to 2 billion views. And because of that, his annual YouTube income spiked from around $2 million up to well over $10 million. It's wild. The more he spent, the more he made. Section 2, Building the Beast Empire. To keep that massive momentum going, Jimmy knew he couldn't just rely on YouTube ad revenue forever, so he starts upping the production value to just insane levels. We're talking literally blowing up yachts with cannonballs, all while aggressively scaling from a single channel into a massive, diversified physical product empire. But, those early corporate ventures were a mix of huge wins and some pretty steep learning curves. He drops Shop MrBeast, an apparel line that pulled in an estimated $750,000 in a single drop and eventually over $50 million total. Fans absolutely ate it up. But then in 2020, he launches MrBeast Burger, a delivery-only ghost kitchen. It made millions at first, sure, but quality control was a total nightmare. Fans were super disappointed, and it actually triggered a massive $100 million lawsuit. Definitely a tough lesson in the realities of scaling physical food products. But he learns fast, and this brilliantly illustrates his next move. In January 2022, he launches Feastables, his own ethically sourced chocolate brand. Just look at the explosive growth here. Year 1, $30 million. Year 2, tripled to $90 million. And by 2024, Feastables is hitting a staggering $250 million in sales. We are way past basic YouTuber merch now. This is a highly competitive consumer packaged good that basically blew up into an instant success. So you put it all together. 14 years of relentless grinding, running dozens of translated channels and giving away up to $1 million for video. It all crowns him the undisputed biggest YouTube star in the world. He's sitting on a mind-bending audience of 397 million subscribers. By constantly escalating the stakes, entirely funded by his massive reach and the success of Feastables, he has pushed himself into a league where he literally has no peers. Let's put that scale into perspective because the numbers are just nuts. For 2025, his projected gross income is $900 million. To make that even remotely relatable, that is $103,000 every single hour. It's $1,700 a minute or $28 a second. To put it another way, he earns enough to buy a brand new, fully loaded Porsche every 3 hours. What's actually hilarious, though, is that the only thing stopping him from buying a fleet of Porsches is that he doesn't even have access to his own money. Yep, Jimmy admits his mom still manages his bank accounts for him. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the reality of where all that money actually comes from. For a guy who is famous for being a YouTuber, traditional YouTube ad revenue makes up barely 3% of his total income. Seriously, out of that projected $900 million, only about $24.7 million comes from ads. That's just 2.74%. The other 97% is generated almost entirely by his physical businesses and massive sponsorships. At this point, he's operating way more like a Fortune 500 CEO than a traditional content creator. Which brings us full circle, right back to the central paradox we hit on at the start of this explainer. How does a guy bringing in nearly $1 billion a year claim, quote, "I have negative money right now. I'm borrowing money"? He literally tells people that everyone watching his videos technically has more liquid cash in their checking accounts than he does. Well, the secret here lies in the crucial difference between cash and equity. Jimmy reinvests almost every single penny he makes right back into the channels to fund bigger, crazier videos. Because of this, he actually runs out of cash frequently and has to take out massive business loans. So his $2.6 billion wealth isn't just sitting in a giant checking account somewhere. It's entirely tied up in equity. He owns about 50% of the MrBeast corporate portfolio, which includes everything from Feastables to a literal physical theme park he built, all valued together at over $5 billion. Simply put, he is massively asset-rich, but totally cash-poor.
Section 3, climbing the billionaire ranks. Let's move to and see how this builds when we contextualize his massive $2.6 billion net worth against the rest of the world. To really wrap our heads around that kind of wealth, let's stack him up against other top-tier digital influencers. Honestly, it's not even a competition. You've got mega creators like iShowSpeed at $30 million, Charlie D'Amelio and Markiplier at $45 million, XQC is sitting at $50 million, Logan Paul at $150 million, and Jake Paul up there at $200 million. Sure, they are all incredibly wealthy. But at $2.6 billion, MrBeast completely and utterly towers over the entire creator economy. He is playing a totally different financial game. But let's zoom out even further, to the broader world. Even though his wealth easily dwarfs legendary athletes like LeBron James and Cristiano Ronaldo, Jimmy is still, surprisingly, a relatively small fish in the billionaire ocean. If you look at the Forbes billionaire list, he only ranks 1,520th. He is still miles behind the legacy wealth of tech titans like Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg. But hold on, because that comparison isn't entirely fair, right? Those tech founders are decades older than he is. If we level the playing field and look at their wealth when they were exactly 27 years old, the narrative completely flips. At 27, almost none of those legacy billionaires had even gotten their flagship companies fully off the ground. Meanwhile, Jimmy is steering a multi-billion-dollar empire. In fact, if you dig into the historical data, Mark Zuckerberg is basically the only billionaire on Earth who had a lead on Jimmy at this exact same age. He has absolutely crushed the historical trajectory of almost every other billionaire out there. And if you look at his future roadmap, the guy is showing zero signs of slowing down on his path to potentially becoming the richest man alive. He's diversifying like crazy, He recently bought a multi-$100 million finance app. He secured a massive $200 million investment from a crypto company. He's totally adapted his content style to dominate short-form platforms like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. And to top it all off, he's crossing over into traditional streaming, launching a huge-budget Amazon show called Beast Games.
But despite this relentless, insane march toward unprecedented wealth, his ultimate motivation stays surprisingly grounded. He actively rejects materialism. He literally points out that flashy lifestyle purchases just don't matter when you die. His entire philosophy boils down to aggressively building this business for one single reason: having the absolute massive resources to help people and change the world. So it leaves us with this really provocative question. If Jimmy Donaldson eventually reaches the very top of the Forbes list, how will this completely new, content-driven breed of philanthropy fundamentally reshape what it means to be a billionaire in the 21st century? Thank you for exploring this fascinating explainer with us.